Request all the panelists of second session to please come on the dais. Raman sir, please have your seat. Gaurav, we are honored to have you here. In the second session, second panel discussion, which is for future trends and technologies in data sharing and exchange. उस तरफ की नहीं लेना, अभी कोई बैठा ही नहीं. We have 4 panelists and the session chair. 2 of them are joining online. They are waiting for long. That's why I request all of you to please come soon, and few more seats to be occupied before. Okay, let me take this time and introduce our session chair for the second session, Mr. Gaurav Godwani. He is an executive director and founder of Civic Data Lab. Gaurav is a technologist turned into social entrepreneur working to strengthen data for good ecosystem in India. At Civic Data Lab, he works closely with public finance, law and justice verticals to improve access to information and enable civic engagement using open data and open source practices. We just saw an example in the previous panel discussion from Kabir about this public finance data which is being used for Government of Assam, and a lot of insights of that. Gaurav has been instrumental in starting the initiative like DataKind, Bangalore, and Open Budgets in India. He is passionate about open data, open source tech, education, and human rights. When he is away from the keyboard, he enjoys his time spending traveling, teaching, and photography. Let's all put our hands together and welcome Gaurav as a session chair for the second panel. I'll leave it to you, Gaurav, now to introduce all the other 4 panelists and take forward the session. Meanwhile, I'll catch everyone outside to come in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Usha ma'am, for that remark. So we have a lovely panelists today to discuss future trends and technologies in data sharing and exchange. As we know that with open data already being there for almost a decade now, there is now more focus on even sector-specific data platforms. Some of that you saw in the previous panel as well. Crowdsourced data platforms, OpenStreetMap is a fantastic example of one. More and more of similar kind of data platforms are coming our way. And with new focus on digital public infrastructure, there is conversation moving on data exchange. How can all of these data sets could come together? How can we ensure smooth exchange between the platforms for data sharing? That's a new development which we are seeing. And also recent developments in artificial intelligence is allowing us to see data sets in a different light. Now the definition of machine readable data sets have drastically changed nowadays. Everything which machine can read has become machine readable in nature. We are seeing large language models making these data sets much more searchable, discoverable, indexable on the web as well. So with those recent developments, this session would cover about some of the case studies, some of the work from our panelists to understand data sharing nuances better, as well as how can we leverage these new technologies towards a better data sharing and exchange environment for the whole community. So with that, we have some really great eminent panelists today. I would like to introduce Shri Pavan Kumar, IFS Special Secretary and Director, Department of Information Technology and Communications, Government of Assam, DITEC. He has been championing the cause of creating modern state data center in Assam, and also has been spearheading conversation on creating Assam Data Exchange, a new initiative which was announced by Government of Assam in this year's budget to bring in several data sets related to socio-economic development of Assam at one place. He's joining us virtually with us. Would request him to.
Morning all. Sorry I could not be physically present. So honored to be part of this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pavanji. possible, if you can turn on your video, that would be really helpful. Next up, we have Ms. Rukmini S., founder of Data for India. Rukmini here is running a public platform for making India's data much more understandable. She has been a journalist and has been reporting on issues related to inequality, gender, caste, politics. She was national data editor of The Hindu, HuffPost India, and has written a variety of publications in Indian as well as international journals. Her work on estimating COVID deaths in India won a 2022 Sigma Award, the Global Data Journalism Award, as well as jury special mention at the Asian College of Journalism Awards 2022. You would have read her first book, Whole Numbers and Half Truth, What Data Can and Cannot Tell Us About Modern India. It's a lovely read. If you haven't, I usually recommend it. And it was published by Westland in December 21. And what we are hearing that there is another book coming in soon in 2024. So we would hear about that from Rukmini shortly. We also have Shri V.R. Raman, Executive Director of Center for Budget and Governance Accountability. Raman is currently Executive Director here, a think tank on budgets and people-centered governance. CBGA has also built openbudgetsindia.org, the largest budget-related open database, which captures, organizes, openly shares budget data in various levels of governance in a machine-readable and analyzable format. Mr. Raman is a public policy expert with over 3 decades of experience and has been instrumental in establishing some of the large-scale community health, education, and nutrition programs in the country. He has unique experience of working for several flagship missions of Government of India on literacy, health, nutrition, sanitation, and water. We also have Ms. Meera from Open City and Urvani Foundation joining us virtually. Meera is founder and trustee at Urvani Foundation, connecting people who want better cities with civic information, tools, networks, and resources they need to make it happen. She has started an award-winning civic media platform known as Citizen Matters on critical urban issues, ideas, and solutions for city. She has also initiated Open City, a civic tech and urban data commons for community to enable data sharing on city-related solutioning. Meera is also an Ashoka Fellow, recognized for her work on building open knowledge platforms that allow citizens to collaborate and improve their cities. So we have got a lovely...
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thanks, Meera. We have got a lovely group of panelists today. I would request you to do a round of applause for all of them. So with that, I would request Pawan Kumarji to first give his remarks on how he's imagining Assam Data Exchange and how he's imagining data sets of Government of Assam to be shared much more in open, in a more accessible manner. And what are the kind of recent developments of technology he's leveraging in his ideas here. So Pawanji, if you can share your thoughts, both from the challenges as well as in terms of opportunities we have when it comes to sharing data, especially government data, between the departments and with the citizens and other stakeholders.
Morning all. I don't know whether my video is clear enough, but I think the audio is going through. So in Assam, we are late starters in the sense that we only had a corporation in the name of Amtron right from 1984, and there was no IT department as such. So in 2002, for the first time, we had a department by the name of Information Technology Department. And then in 2018, we had a directorate which looks after the data center and the data related policies and all this. So whatever developments happened, they are post 2018 developments. And our data center itself came in 2021. That was first of its kind. Before that, we had something called mini data center running few Apache servers in Amtron. And there was a program called E-District or SUPAM, which was running in several districts offering 24 services. Even now, the interdepartmental database handshaking, that is not there. And like a lot of data that can be used by multiple departments. If one department requires it, it has to ask the other department in paper format, and then it goes. Then again, the other department will start an e-file. So it is going on like that. There was no central repository of important documents. So then came the concept of having a data exchange platform with a small personal space. So our data policy, which came in 2022, also required to have one such repository. So we started talking to Civic Data Labs and the NIC Delhi and all that. NIC Delhi already had an instance of it, and there were negotiations. Like we wanted a customized instance application to be deployed in state, because everything we wanted in our own data center. Then NIC had certain reservations. They said, let the application be here, let the data be there, and then we'll make it work that way. So finally, everything is sorted out now. Our stand and the terms and conditions of Assam government, NIC agreed to, and we are agreeable to their conditions. And then we are being helped by Gauravji. So we recently created a document with standard operating procedure and then how to go about it, the roadmap. We are taking 5 departments at a time, total 15 departments in the coming couple of years, 118 months. And then gradually we'll onboard all the government departments and then bring them on to this data exchange platform. So this is our roadmap as of now. So thank you all.
Thanks a lot, Pavanji. One more just follow-up question, Pavanji. How do we foresee a data exchange solving some of these issues? You mentioned that it takes a lot of time between the departments to share data with each other. There's a process of filing a request, and then that request moves through the department, and then it gets approved. Do you think with the help of a modern data stack of data sharing, this could be fasten up the whole procedural request of approving data sharing for different use cases, not just with the government to government, but also with government to citizens, government to research institutes, like we have IIT Guwahati in Assam. There could be other research institutes who might request access to certain data sets for different research purposes. So how do you see potential of a platform which can enable simple data sharing through automating some of these requests procedures which are currently manual in nature?
So firstly, there are the kind of government documents which otherwise also, even if you go by the provisions of RTA Act, they have to be available to the public and available to the other departments. Right now, like one has to seek these documents, and then the departmental websites are also evolving. They may not be featuring all these documents, all this content. So if data exchange platform ab initio has some of these documents, and then that will reduce the this RTA applications, number of RTA applications to be processed by department to provide the data to the public. And secondly, definitely the interdepartmental this to and fro of paperbazi, that will come down significantly. And then we have that department has one authenticator. What document can be shared on data exchange platform. So there is some level of authentication, some level of verification. So the everything and anything cannot be put up on the data exchange platform. So that is also ensured. So I think it will go a long way in reducing the paperbazi between the departments.
Thank you so much, Pavanji, for those remarks. And we are hopeful that once we have Assam Data Exchange up and ready, I think citizens as well as other stakeholders can benefit a lot from that kind of faster data sharing between the stakeholders. I would now move to Ms. Meera from Open City. Meera, if you can walk us through what this Open City platform is all about, and what kind of data sets you are seeing coming here, and how you see modern developments in technology impacted the data ecosystem specifically for urban governance and making our cities much more resilient in nature.
Thank you, Gaurav. If possible, do share the presentation I had shared.
Yeah, just in a minute, the presentation would be visible now.
Sure.
Yeah, the presentation is now visible here.
Okay. So let me just start with a very quick introduction to the organization itself and why we're doing what we're doing. The larger vision is to make cities to see cities which are sustainable, equitable, livable, and so on. And we see this as part of fixing the many systemic issues which are there, across whether it's governance or environment or local economy and so on. And which obviously means it requires collective action to solve these problems. And our job is to empower citizens to be those problem solvers. It is not something that you just depend on governments and other, experts to come solve the problem. It's important that everybody is involved, especially at the community level. Which is why we're connecting people with information, with data, the tools, the networks, so that we can work towards better cities together. So there are two aspects in this approach. One is, of course, we keeping the community at the center, the citizen, the problem solver at the center, so that they can learn, engage, collaborate, and be part of the movement itself. And the second aspect is to ensure that the information that we are providing, we're bringing up in our various platforms is very comprehensive as well as actionable, right? One is, of course, we have reportage and a lot of explainers and step-by-step guides on getting things done, whether it is about getting some service delivery or about fixing a problem, like how do you implement rainwater harvesting in your apartment, things like that as well. And we also add a lot of research and analysis, kind of disseminating such information to the larger public. There is a very clear focus on solutions and constructive engagement, and of course, data. So these are the various programs that we have. Citizen Matters is a media platform, and we do a lot of workshop as part of our learning hub and bringing the various civic groups together and strengthening the networks. Open City is a data platform, started as a side project because we were also sitting on a lot of data, and we saw a lot of civic groups having data, and there was no, it was all getting stuck in silos. And one thing we realized is whenever we talk about open data, the conversation is about larger, national level or regional level data. Locally, data is not given enough importance. But this is where, things are our daily problems, right? Whether it's traffic or garbage or water, these are things that affect us on a day-to-day lives. So how can local data actually make a difference? So that is how we started, and we set this up as a platform to bring together the information that was available and could be made available. And largely these are, to get data out of silos. And there are different agencies and stakeholders, right? You have, the water department or the city corporation, you have a planning agency. So data is there with different groups as well as individual, civic groups and research organization, institutions, and so on. So, other aspect is how do you get citizens as this? The next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So our focus is on citizens as stakeholders in this larger public data ecosystem. So what do individuals and these various civic groups, whether it's RWAs or societies, need to be engaged and involved in civic change, right? Whether they want to improve their neighborhood waste management services or stop their some areas from getting flooded. A lot of these things, it is very possible for civic groups to get involved and make a difference. The idea behind this is that a lot of citizens, many citizens, have the time and the expertise and the experience to actually, contribute constructively. Call it the cognitive surplus, right? And it's also, of course, their duty and as stakeholders in the larger civic space. So how do we enable this participation, right? How do you make development collaborative? So one part is we host the data repository with a lot of local information, right? Whether it is budget, there are plans, there are, one of the most popular data set is actually the jurisdiction, right? Whether it's the police station jurisdiction is different from the city corporation wards and zones, which is different from the water department zone maps. So all of these are different. And how does an average citizen navigate the various, departments of service delivery groups, services based on these, right? So opening up this information is very useful for people to understand and get their work done, right? So you need to make such data easy to discover, access, use. So, and we also provide a lot of explainers on how to use data. So kind of working on socializing data as well as making, people more data literate. So these are the foundational public data which needs to be open and available anyway. So just making it easier for people to access. That's one part. The other part is also there is a lot of data which is missing in even within the government or outside in general, right? And this leads to a lot of lack of understanding and of issues, and how can we actually solve the problem without understanding the basic issue itself. For example, take for example something like a list of bus shelters, right? While it is not available as a data set, so how do you kind of figure out, like, okay, does every neighborhood have a bus stop within 500 meters of their of their homes, right? So these are kind of questions. When you want to solve a mobility problem, you need this kind of data, and this is not available in a very easy way. So which is where crowdsourcing and opening up of information comes in, right? How do you engage a lot of people and help people contribute information back into the system? So the second part is about finding and collating missing information, crowdsourcing, opening up data. So we bring people together in these sort of mini projects, and we also bring people together in what we call jams, data jams, right? Which are like data hackathons, where people try to analyze data. We pick a theme and analyze different data sets. So you try to understand the patterns so that, you can understand the issue better, as well as it helps in decision making. You can support the right policies, get a better sense of the ground issues as well. So this is where the data jams are a very powerful way of getting people involved and helping them contribute back into the public knowledge base. So next one, please. So over the last few years, we've had dozens of data jam. We've had about 100 odd participants, 100, 200 participants. And we also work with various community groups as well as institution and government departments. There is WRI or Janagraha or IRC-DUC. These are the various kinds of, organizations we work with. We've also worked with BMTC and BBMP. Next week, in fact, we're partnering with the City Corporation, BBMP's climate cell, to look at heat stress and how those issues can be alleviated, what can happen on the ground. So Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Bombay. So there are a lot of people interested who understand data, who want to contribute in this sphere, who we engage with across different cities. So this is our approach, how data can actually lead to better understanding, which can lead to, action as well as better policy. And just to give a few examples, we've had jams on walkability or water issues, Chennai rains and waterlogging, for example. So some of the findings that the groups have come up with, like one group proposed a mini bus service for a local neighborhood, right, which could solve the mobility problem, commute problem, and actually eliminate a lot of private vehicles. Another group looked at what should be, how is access to civic amenities versus, and mapped it against income levels. Another group looked at access to healthcare and education institutions. So these are various kinds of problems you can look at. Not larger projects, but a way to get people involved and actually moving towards better solution. So we have seen over the last few years a lot of data and evidence-based discourse. The demands that are coming from the ground up are more based on data and more rational and easier to implement. It helps in improving service delivery, and it's a very good way of collaborative solutioning for better cities. So this is what we do and why we do it in short. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Meera, for that great presentation. One quick follow-up question, Meera. These data jams sound like a very fascinating idea to bring in community to work on some of these data sets together. If someone wants to organize a
Sure.
data jam in their city, how would you recommend them to approach this?
They just reach out to us, opencity@urbani.in. Anytime we are there on social media or on email or any format. Feel free to contact us. We will, if we are not present there, we do have team members in multiple cities like Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore, etc. If it's another city, we can work with you, partner with you remotely and handhold you, or if required, drop in there and facilitate the jam. And the idea is to just anybody can do this at any point. We kind of work, there's a lot of preparation work, of course, and figuring out what information is available, what kind of problem statements would be feasible to take up, etc. But we're happy to support any group doing this.
Right. So suppose once we have identified a problem, if you can walk us through the process, like what goes into a data jam once we have identified a problem. Suppose we are looking into sanitation and garbage in a particular city, the mismanagement of sanitation and garbage issues.
Okay.
What's next?
Okay. Okay, so first is to see if there are other groups to partner with, because a lot of different groups have their own like data sets and they have a lot of ground understanding, right? Ground level understanding. So who are these groups, as well as which are the different departments which are involved in this, right? Say the city corporation, they may be like for Bangalore, you have a separate waste management company, or there may be the water and sewerage department, right? You figure out the stakeholders who are involved. If there are institutions and groups, and we can reach out to them and see if they want to partner and also understand what kind of data sets is available. So do that research to kind of collate a list and have saying, for this jam, here are the possible data sets that we can build on, right? Could be jurisdiction maps, like for waste management, you have these micro plans at a ward level. Where does the actual, how does a vehicle go around individual wards? What are those route maps are there? Then the collection and the quantum of garbage collected, that by ward, by bulk generator, or by street. There are various kinds of data sets as well. And historical data, of course. So make a list of such data sets, and then we figure out what are the biggest problems that can, that the city is facing. And out of these, which are feasible to address within a day, right? Typically the data jam lasts a day. We've also done virtual jams as well, things which last over like a few weeks. But the ideal way is actually very enriching when people come together and deliberate and have those conversations build a lot of understanding as well. So what is feasible to really address within a day? What should be the problem statement? And at the end of the day, they share their concerns and a way forward. And then we invite experts or people from the government to listen to it. Can we feed this back into some of the or they require policy changes or so on, right? But overall, and we also bring it back into public discourse as articles, as and through other media, we do share it what people have found. So that's typically the format, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Meera, for walking us through what all we can achieve just in a day of these bringing together different community actors to work on local problems and unlock local data for everyone to work with. with that, I would now request Rukmini to come in and present some of her insights from Data for India project.
Thank you. Am I audible? Okay. Thank you very much for having me here today. It's, we were just talking earlier, it's great to meet so many of the people that we know through other forums but haven't met in person. And particularly because I'm based in Chennai, it's nice to be able to, meet the people based in Delhi and sort of all the stakeholders in the field. I just want to talk a little bit about how we came to the platform that we've built. I have a background in journalism, and then I worked specifically in data journalism. And then, I wrote this book that tried to pull together some of my findings through data about how things work in modern India. And the sense that really came through in that process is that the book shouldn't have needed to exist, which is my feeling repeatedly over the last couple of years, is that in some ways, the success of platforms like data.gov.in has meant that access to data for people like me has improved dramatically, but the public understanding that should come as a result of that data was not happening. And that is what I wanted to solve for. The sort of conceit of journalism is that's what we're doing. And I think I sort of had a moment of humility after 7, 8, 9 years of doing that journalism's there is excellent data journalism going on in India, so not to put that down at all. It's a huge change from how things were 10 years ago. But the incentives of journalism are not aligned to create long-term knowledge, was my general sense. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to create a public good that helped advance public understanding through the data. That if, my book has a chapter on, on spending or consumption, and chapters like that, I feel, shouldn't have to exist. People should be able to come to a place where there is credible data from public sources produced by government that provides a clear understanding without a sort of hot take on the issue, which is what journalism is often incentivized to do, and that the data behind these assertions is also available, so that there is no cherry picking and it's apparent to people where the data has come from, as well as there should be simple charts for shareability. So that's the broad thinking behind this. This is broadly what the platform looks like. It's called dataforindia.com. It's a free public platform, and the subscribe button is more to create our own subscriber, base for newsletters and other things for the future, but it is and will remain free. We have these 6 key verticals right now, and we're building another few, which I'll talk about in a bit. So the idea is that you don't come here to look at what I have decided to write about on that day. You come here to answer a question in your mind. So if you want to know what has happened with enrollment in India over time, and you are someone not comfortable with looking at dives to figure it out on your own, and our feeling really is that the locus of responsibility should not rest on citizens to have to figure out data for themselves. They should be able to get information. You come here and you find an article that aims to give you a full sense of the state of enrollment. We don't take a position. We are committedly non-partisan, and we are not picking aspects of the data. We're trying to give you a full view of it. The data behind this is available for download as well. However, we are not a data portal, as I'll talk about in a minute. A lot of the focus of many people who do similar things to me is around data collection. So that data collection and sort of our access to data. That certainly is a problem on some counts, and in the end I'll talk a little bit about some suggestions. But I also want to sort of reflect on the successes that have allowed us to get to a point where data access for someone like me who does not come from a tech or data background has improved to the point that I'm able to do this sort of work. But we feel that asking the right questions and creating public goods is something that hasn't been happening. So that's the sort of last mile problem that's typically left to the media that we're aiming to solve here. We are not a data portal and we're not journalism, And I'll talk a little bit about, though that's not our area of work at all, I'll just talk a little bit about what I mean about AI-led efforts in the end. So the reason we're not a data portal is because many people do a very good job of building very good data portals, and we use it. We are users of data.gov.in, we are users of NDAP. We are not data journalism because, as I told you, we are not taking a take on issues. We aim to build knowledge products. So if you want to know about migration in India, you'd have to go to Wikipedia, or you'd ask ChatGPT a question. And what we want is you should be able to, teachers tell students where not to go. Don't go to Wikipedia, don't go to ChatGPT. We want them to be able to say, go here, because there is government data. We use only government data, as well as data from some multilateral agencies. And we, really stake our name on building trust and credibility. So we're sort of very incentivized not to do cherry picking and sort of, slicing and dicing of the data. We believe, and we are very enthusiastic and sort of almost evangelical about all that can be done with Indian data. We feel that there is, a sort of limit to the imagination that people use in asking questions. And, John talked about this earlier. I feel very similar to him, that there is a ton that we can save from government data that's not being used right now. And we're very excited about all of the possibilities from this. When people ask me, what will you do after the NSS, NFHS? What will you look at? I tell them I can see myself occupied for 5 years with the data that exists right now. I'm excited about what will come in the future, but there is no shortage of absolutely essential things that we're geared to write about for the next 5 years. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's happened with legal data as a way to sort of explain trends in tech over time and sort of leave you with what we're doing. Now, all of our work builds on open data, and all of our work builds on the work of others. So we have tried, we're very committed to leveraging all of these great communities. DataMeet, for example, which some of us are part of, is now 10 plus years old, and some of us have known each other just from email addresses for the last 10 years. We've also seen work that How India Lives, Civic Data Lab, and others have done, and we're very keen to sort of build off that and build this community. So in 2013, when I was at the Hindu, I was doing some analysis that looked at courts data for it. And I ended up manually reading 600 plus district court judgments for something I was doing. Forget even the reading the text part, just looking for the judgments. There was a text search function, but it would frequently break, and then I would frequently have to read all of the judgments that were passed on that one day to look for the particular section I was working on. That was the state in 2013. Since then, the eCourts platform has improved substantially and allows us to do a lot more of that. And more importantly, there are role models in the ecosystem who show us what can be done with the data. So there's Civic Data Lab, there's Vidhi, there's Agami, there's Daksh, who've shown us what can be done with courts data. So one of the, I showed you the verticals we have so far. One of the verticals we're building for the future is justice. And what we're able to do right now, the quantitative part of it, comes from the Development Data Lab, having scraped this huge eCourts, this huge data dump from the eCourts. And they have put it up available on their platform. So we have not done what we would have had to do, say, 5 years ago, which is spend a lot of time and money and coder resources on rescraping everything. We've used what they've scraped to then try and do other work of it. So this is the sort of, almost the story that I see that's happened within access to justice data in the last few years, and all that we've been able to do building off the work of others to just try and tell simple descriptive stories about access to justice in India. We're not lawyers, we're not here trying to say anything about correlations between two things. We're trying to tell very simple descriptive statistics about how much of what crime is there, how long do things take to go through the court system, very simple descriptive statistics that we feel people should have access to. But the next step that's going to be possible, and we may not do this, others may do it, and we're excited to watch what they'll do, is the work that can now happen through large language models, particularly in the legal data space. So there is so much activity going on in that space that it's almost hard to keep track of. A lot of these are paid products aimed to help lawyers do a better job, right? And even possibly to help judges do a better job of looking at things like precedents and other things like that. But what it allows us to also potentially think of is the next step. So we've got these basic descriptive statistics now possible in a quantitative way that could tell you something like, if you look at murder versus you look at theft, and you look at Bihar versus you look at Karnataka, this is how long a case takes to go through the system. That's something we could do. But potentially by analyzing text, we could say things like, what is the thinking, the judicial thinking behind granting bail, which we all know, for example, happens quite in ways that sometimes defy existing precedents. So I feel like, what we've been able to see is how far tech has got us to this point, to allow us to build off it despite not being people with tech or data backgrounds. So of course my team is large and I use their help. And now we're excited to see what the future for justice in particular can do using LLMs. I'm going to take a leaf out of the other presenters earlier and just talk about, just give a couple of quick suggestions from our side. We would hugely appreciate as much metadata as possible on every given data set, because a lot of our time actually goes in that, in trying to figure out what exactly a column is trying to do. This is less a data.gov.in problem and more a MOSPI problem, because we work from unit level data from the NSS. The NFHS is of course in much better shape. So much of our time goes in trying to figure out who has been looked at, why the sample is this for this particular indicator, what exactly this column means, what this subtotal means for this year versus past years. So we are, we hope to share as much work as we do on the metadata, but really when it comes to metadata, there can never be too much. So I would really encourage anyone working with data sets to really go all out with their metadata. Additionally, we would also, like others, echo that periodicity really is key. It's not just that we would like to see the data regularly, we would also be able to have some sort of reasonable expectation. So it's not that we're building, models that require data to be updated on a particular day, but it would be nice to have a reasonable expectation of when it's likely to come. There are, of course, sudden disappearances of data that happen, and while I don't think anyone in the room here is necessarily responsible for those, we should just as a community, push for fewer of those to happen. These are resources that existed for us, and if they are, taken offline, we all lose in the process. And finally, I would say that we are seeing a lot that can be done with administrative data, and we are interested in seeing more of it. We are also interested in seeing better metadata around administrative data, because a lot of our work currently is looking at administrative data and survey data on the same indicators. So better metadata around administrative data would help us understand why it looks different from survey data, if different bodies are being looked at, if the question is different. So one of the things I tell anybody writing, the people writing for our platform is, there's no limit on footnotes. Go crazy with footnotes. You want 50, put 50. More information is what I want our readers to have. So similarly, my sort of exhortation would be on metadata. There can never be too much. And it just helps us be very clear about who exactly we're talking about and how those groups compare then with other data sets. I'll stop for now. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rukmini, for that wonderful presentation. And after we hear from Raman, we would dive into some of the Q&A and would love to know more about what you have been thinking in terms of legal domain and other sectors. So moving now to Raman to talk about more about public finance data.
Thanks, Gaurav, and the data.in for this very important discussion. And I am going to talk mainly about the Open Budgets India initiative, but I'll also try to think about the future, kind of challenges and prospects in this particular area as a person who have been traveling with the open ideology for a long time. So first of all, I thought I'll make some slides, but later I thought, how to make it more participatory. Everyone has phone. If you can open openbudgetsindia.org. openbudgetsindia.org. And I have opened it in my phone also, and it is for making India's budgets open, usable and easy to comprehend. And this is the challenge also that I'm going to talk about. When we started this, we know that Gaurav is our technical partner, the Civic Data Lab is our technical partner in this process. And we are struggling. We have done a lot, but we know that there's a lot to do. Currently, with the basic things that we have put up, it has become one of the largest budget database. I don't know what is the denomination in India or outside. I'm not going there. But it is really, really bad, really large. And that bad part is, coming as a different comment. I'll put it up. So the complexity of budget data, that is where we are trying to address. You can look at, there are several dashboards, and there is something today we uploaded in the morning, the Union Budget Explorer 23-24, it is there available. So you can look at how the last year's union budget, how the spending happened on that, and you can look at sector-wise, department-wise, that is available. And then some states, have started to share with us their state budget data as well. Assam is one. Today we have uploaded last year's Assam's Budget Explorer as well. And we have Odisha, we have some other states where we are able to get this. As the state governments, I think you are saying that data is power, and I would say data is fuel for development. So if data is fuel for development, this fuel can generate power, but if this is seen as power, the problem is someone will capture it and sit on it. This is a problem being a government official for a long time. All my department colleagues had this problem of whether this data could be shared or not. So I'll come up with some stories also. So as a fuel for development, there's a lot of challenges, particularly when it comes to budget data. Because it has different levels of spending, national level, state level, and India is a federal country with 5 levels of government at this point. Although we only count, national and state, we have the city government, we have the district government, we have the block government, and we have also the gram panchayats. All these needs to be seen as government, and all these levels of spending needs to be marked. At present, we have touched district, that also in a pilot level. So that is one complexity. Then you have the revenue, you have the expenditure, and you have the audit. 3 levels in that. Then you have the issue of how to make the data as a tool for development accountability. That is one question that we are trying. And we ended up in an answer making constituency level dashboards, wherein we can see that in which constituency spending is, whether it is MP led, whether it is MLA led, or other development, specific expenditures, which constituencies the spending is happening in a proper manner, which constituencies it is not. But again, these are having its own challenges also. The moment, data, and we know that data is something that, as I told, it is fuel for development. It can also be a fuel for accountability, and that not always is welcome. That is also one thing that when we are talking about open data, this open data ecosystem, we need to really address this issue of jerking with data. So that is something that we need to address. And the micro level, macro level, various schemes flagship schemes that the government is coming up, and several outcome indicators that we need to look at, and different lenses that the budget is analyzed, like the gender lens, the child lens, the persons with disability lens, SC lens, ST lens, and the climate lens, and of course the outcome lens. So all these lenses the budget data needs to be seen from. So we are trying to address all these using the current John was talking, I don't know whether he is here or not. He was talking about this the scanned data and making it machine readable. Ajay, my colleague, is sitting here, and some of the CDL colleagues, they together, how they struggled about these paper based data to make it into CSVs and then to make it analyzable in various way. That story itself is something you can write as a book. And then I would say that some stories. This is not from the open budget data story, because when I was the director of State Health Resource Center in Chhattisgarh, we started to do something on the open platforms there as well, with NIC support and a lot of. So this is, I'm talking about 2004, not now. So I was telling the ICMR colleague who was here. So I was about to get the human resources for health data. I could not get it. There was all printouts available, but where is this printout coming from? How the postings and transfers happen? Which sub-center is vacant? Which community health center is vacant? Which PSC is vacant? And where to push people? Where the demands are high and leads to corruption and various other issues, and where the demands are not at all there, and where to get people from outside on contract. These many questions we had at that time. And I tried to get it, I could not get it. So this is where open data, ideology is also, we need to have a mining department. I mean, mining department to really mine the data, where is it? And then I found, I was telling that one of the clerks who was in the, specific department of transfers and those human resource department, infrastructure department, he had interestingly made a visual basic program for the front end and an access program for back end. I mean, I'm talking about 2004. I'm not talking about now. And was able to give me all the various things on a pen drive from all sub-centers that were there, all PSCs that were there. And I was, at that point in time, we were completing the training of 3-year medical graduates and, trying to put them into PSCs. And how to do that in an efficient manner was the question that I was trying to address. So this mining part, when we mine, we know that something is already happening, although since there is no option for open data and technology support and institutional support, people are going into a different direction. So that is something that I realized. And I was also the expert committee member for Central Bureau of Health Intelligence, and I was struggling at least for 7 or 8 meetings how to make the national health profile something open. So that is another question that I have looked at. So anyway, I'm coming back to this, and also one more example was how to make the data generation process itself open. Without that, it is very difficult to address the post facto kind of correction of data and then making it readable. All that is where the cost question comes, and we are investing a lot for data that has already been generated, analyzed, put together is again, we repeat all the process in a reverse manner. So how to do that? Yeah. So finally, here the challenge is, so we need to define data for whom. So in the health information system, we redefined in Chhattisgarh as a health worker assistance system. So the orientation of the data, rather than, for the top people to monitor, it was made into the people who are working at the field, the street level bureaucrats, for their improvement of the work. If we actually reorient the data, then the data consumption and data generation, it happens in a different manner, and then the data becomes available from a bottom up approach. If we change the approach from top to bottom versus bottom up. And then data cleaning and those kind of things. If the data is generated in a machine readable format from the very beginning, the cost that we are incurring currently, our project is very costly for this very reason, because we have to get, and because the data is not available, I don't know whether I can say this or not, still I'm saying this, and we took support of some people to take data on right to information and then to convert them. So there are many kind of challenges that in this data ecosystem that we are facing, and added is the challenges of being open. In Kerala, there is a kind of joke, like, whatever is the expenditure that you are making, the product should be low cost. I don't know whether you got it. It's always it is told about the low cost houses, the Larry Baker models in Kerala. So it was told that I need to make a low cost house. I'm ready to make whatever amount to be spent for that. So similarly, we are spending a lot on the the open ecosystem, because the market is advancing, and the market has really advanced, and it has all the support systems and applications, everything available, but open system is stuck at one point. So how to support institutionally the open system is a question. If we are still, I am seeing that the progress that we have made, the technology is going, AI and various other things, people are using it also, but in a very small scale. But if we have to use it in a large scale, then the ecosystem needs to be supportive for that. So if that, possibility is there, then, we can make, the next important point is the administrative, kind of awareness and behavior change. The administrative awareness and behavior change about data will make data availability and data technical ecosystem very different. So the market versus public is the struggle of, proprietary versus open, and also the top down approach to bottom up approach. So we need to align these things and look at. And finally, how to have data infrastructure available, because yesterday's budget also I was looking at. If we are talking about a climate friendly world and setting up so many things, but where is the data infrastructure investment that we are making? Is it only at the top level, or we need to have the data infrastructure, sufficient data infrastructure, not just for the namesake? How to make that at the lower levels as well, how to make some SOPs and training manuals and various other things for people to use, what to use, where to use, how to use kind of questions to be answered, because we are still early birds, and how to make people little more advanced, so that I'm ending there. So the citizens budget, the people's budget portal, the open budgets India that we are doing, we have also a similar community mobilization network. Used to be, the name is People's Budget Initiative, PBI we used to call it. So we used to build capacities of people when open or data sets were not available. Over the last 20 years, this process was happening in many states of India. Now we are going to use this particular database of these many states, districts, constituencies, panchayats and all that, for building a PBI 2.0. So that is something wherein the important thing is that how to make this data owned by people. So that should be something that we need to look at. And the citizens data portal, how can we make the budget data portal a citizens data portal wherein people's evaluations are available, because the actual spending is not happening at the national level except for some specific sectors. So how to make the panchayat level spending, whether it is finance commission money, whether it is their own budget, local revenue money, how to make the urban spending, how to make the district level spending, all this in a manner that is leading to the outcome. So that is where our portal currently, it is just about data. From the budget data, we need to from just spending, we need to look at the quality of spending and also what is coming out. because of that. So that kind of a journey we have to make in this aspect. So I think I'll stop here, and I'm looking forward for, as many people told here, this portal is accessed by many people, but the actual change makers, when they start to use it, including the panchayat level officials and all that, and they start to contribute data on this, then this kind of a data will have its own objectives met. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Raman, for those wonderful remarks on how can we have truly a data commons culture embedded in our work. So I would now open up the floor, see if audience have some questions for our panelists, if they have any specific input they would like to share or a query they would like to ask.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Divyan Shukla. I am presently working as Deputy Director in Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance. So, first of all, I'd like to say it's very amazing to see such innovative and creative products that are being based on such open data sources, and which are basically for providing citizen-centric solutions. I don't have a specific question, but rather a suggestion. See, I'm seeing there are many industry experts who are working in different sectors here. I would like to inform many of you may be knowing that recently government is in the process of establishing a number of center of excellence, which are basically established to give AI-based citizen-centric solutions. And these center of excellence are being created for specific sectors like urban planning, specifically for health, specifically for agriculture. So what I can think of is, see, AI is a tool, but the underlying solution is the data that drives it. So when we were reading the proposals of establishing these center of excellences, what we thought was, where's the available data? Because at present in the government system, I cannot see the availability of all health facilities available in India, which I can very easily see in the open street map, I guess. They have showcased every health facilities they have mapped. So that's a very basic and important data which can go in the center of excellence that has been established for the health sector, and that can help them to achieve the solution they want much earlier. Because if they don't have that data, they will obviously create it, and then it will take its own time. So, sir, to answer your question as to how to support an open ecosystem, this is one such initiative that government has taken. In addition to it, a national AI mission is also being recently have been passed, which has similar initiatives of establishing number of center of excellences in different sectors. So I would like to request each of these industry experts, and that center of excellence has also it is mandated that government, along with all the industry experts in collaboration with, will reach or will provide such citizen-centric and mass solutions to some common problems in different sectors. So I'll persuade all the industry experts to approach such center of excellences with their data sets, with their prototypes. Say in the Bol Bhav thing, that mandi prices that have been it's prototype. It's kind of start of providing such information to the farmers by reading such bills from the mandis. So it's a great start. So you can use that infrastructure that is being developed by the government and to have a solution at a very great scale like that. That's my only suggestion.
Thank you.
I just want to inform or maybe clarify that the number of health facilities data, the PHCs, the CHCs and sub-centers, it's all available from HMIS, and it's already there on the open data source and through APIs. And as well as the filled in the staff strength and vacancies and also that was 2004, but we have come ahead. So you can maybe explore that data from the platform.
Yeah, definitely, sorry. Yeah. Definitely it is available, but you know, the specific need-based data is the problem. So when you look at it.
Hi, I'm Asutosh. This is my suggestion, not just a question. So, as I observe working with the NIC, there are two types of data. One is the just informational numerical sort of data that we can exchange through the API. Second one is the textual informations that is available through the text either in the web page or PDF or something like that. So, I think you were the right person to extract the information from those texts to facilitate the citizen to compile the data in an effective and useful way. So lots of barrier in terms of the language also. So for example, regarding human rights information, some text in different acts and also from the legal law ministry's website and other articles. You can compile and you can show a systematic way. So even a simple citizen can understand. Similarly, for the financial information to protect the frauds and eligibility to get the financial support in terms of the different schemes. I think these two important use cases can be explored.
Yeah, here I would like to pitch in suggestions, like Ashutosh has said. Anybody has any suggestions? We have put a QR code with a Google form there. You can just scan it and aram se fill it up during the session. All the problems it has a lot of sections and it is displayed. There are two QR codes on each table. One is the agenda. On top of it, it's written agenda, but the other one is for the questionnaire. Thank you. Gaurav, if you have the concluding remarks.
So we would really appreciate if all of you scan the QR code and share your perspective on how can we have a shared data infrastructure for public good.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. So I have only one question to Mr. Raman. You just spoke about making the data open right from the collection. So how this actually will happen and where is it happening and what is the use case you may have seen somewhere?
Yeah, I think Mr. Pawan can also respond to this because the Assam one, I see that, you know, their goal is towards that. If you start to put together various documents, from the very beginning, in a machine readable format, in the specific ways that we can organize data, that is where, so for that a lot of preparations are to be done. Like, the e-file systems that the government, I was again, in the Chhattisgarh, I was part of rolling out one. So in that, you need to have a set of preparations to be done and lot of SOPs, coding, all that needs to be done. If that is done and then in the specific formats, if things are prepared, then the cost that we are incurring, or we have looked at our budget also, almost 65% of our expenditures are going on making the data machine readable. So that is, that part is removed. Then our minimum expenditure is about maintaining the server. So for that, we can have an open server system or something like that. That ecosystem I was talking about. So this part, if the process of generating data itself can be made into a planned ecosystem, that's what I'm talking about.
But still, that data collection part making open, I still could not figure out.
If you have a format of, if the accountants are putting up a format, for example. Yeah.
That means you are saying that you prepare a format the way you want to collect the data.
Not only that, it is also, it should be CSV. There are some, protocols to make, how to save it.
That anyway is
Yeah.
there, that is there. If that is in our open data guidelines also, it is there how to make things open. But collecting data in open format, publishing data in open, making it open and publishing, that's okay. But while collecting the data or generating the data making open means it's from the IT systems. From the IT system, it is there in the NoSQL or SQL or somewhere from where you generate the open format data and publish it. So that anyway we'll discuss.
Only
during-
one example I can say that if the panchayat secretary filing the annual expenditure. That data is, if it is on a central database, it is not currently, it is all books and manual and all that. If that happens, then all the panchayat data can be aggregated at the block level and then at the district level. So if this kind of a process and ecosystem and a protocol is developed, that's what I'm talking about.
So you mean to say, I could get you, sense you what you are thinking. So that means the manual systems should not be there. There should be some IT systems to,
Not only IT
at the time creating the data.
also this interoperability.
That anyway, these days.
Standardization on the
these days,
format and all.
These days, actually, it's all, this is actually generally done once it's IT system.
As far as budget and expenditure, I know that every department has a mandate to put their annual plan, procurement plan, everything on the home page. Everything is always in PDF. Everything is always in PDF. I haven't seen anybody putting it in a readable form or forget about sending to open data. Let's face some harsh truth about data is in public domain, but still. This is
data-
as recent as 2024. Again, Government of Assam is one which has made that initiative to put the budget and expenditure data into a machine readable form through a state public procurement portal. It still has a long way to get into open data.
Finance Ministry, they are putting in Excel formats, but still that cannot be termed as machine readable because
So-
merged columns, merged rows, that kind of things. are
Gaurav,
there.
if you
So-
can do the concluding remarks and we start the
So,
next
yeah,
session.
on that note, just summarizing what all we heard from our panelists, like what Meera was saying, having more data jams or open conversations, the beginning itself, when we are thinking of these platforms, if we can host public consultations on what kind of existing open source technologies, open data principles we can follow, that's a great start. Number two, if we can have a shared data infrastructure so that organizations like Center for Budget and Governance Accountability don't spend 65% of their annual budget on just data cleaning. They can reuse the data infrastructure which possibly data.gov.in can provide to host their data sets and also to manage their data sets there itself. And number three, if we are moving towards more storytelling and more aggregated data sets, how can we involve community in that? How can we rebuild, reuse on existing work so that all of that data sets are discoverable? They should, like we currently know each other in the data community through some Google groups, through some community meetups. If there is a platform where all of us can come together and share our work in open, that would be a brilliant way to bring this community forward and have more shared data infrastructure for public good. So thanks a lot for everyone for joining
Thank
us
you.
for this discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you. May I now request DP Mishra sir to please come forward and felicitate our panelist and session chair. Mr. Gaurav, Madam Meera and V. Raman, please if you can come forward. We thank our online panelists also and let's give a big hand to Ms. Meera from Open City and Shri KSPV Pawan Kumar ji
Thank
from
you.
Special Secretary, Government of Assam. Jaskaran. Alka ma'am, you can also join. Please join for a group photograph. We are a little delayed, but moving forward, we'll have the next panel discussion, which is on data governance and user ecosystems. As we get ready for